Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to dive into a case that has truly captivated me. And not just because it's local to my home state of Louisiana, but because it's a story that screams for answers. Today we're talking about Dorothy Dottie Yates-Mccathran. She was a mother, a daughter, a friend who just vanished into thin air, leaving behind a scene that still baffles investigators and her heartbroken family. This isn't just a story, it's a plea for justice and a deep dive into the unknown. So let's get into it. Dottie Yates-Mccathran was 40 years old when she disappeared on January 21st, 2020 from her home in Vivian, Louisiana. Vivian, Louisiana is a small town community in Caddo Parish. Now, Dottie was a vibrant woman described by her mother, Martha Mullins, as crafty, outgoing, with a contagious laugh. Physically, she was pretty petite, about 5'3" and weighing around 115 pounds. Dottie has brown hair and brown eyes, and she also has some distinctive markings. Scars on both of her arms and her abdomen, along with a tattoo on her abdomen. Dottie was a former soccer player. She had studied interior design and was a mother to 2 children, a 14-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. But as we all do, Dottie had her struggles. For 2 decades, she battled an addiction to hydrocodone, which began after a forehead injury. And later, she struggled with meth use. She'd been in and out of rehab, trying to find her footing, and her parents in Shreveport had custody of her 2 children, which, as you can imagine, was a source of both love and heartache for Dottie. Dottie was married to Kevin McCathran, and their relationship, by many accounts, was tumultuous. They had met in rehab, and sadly, their marriage was pretty much marked by abuse. Her family had spoken out about instances of domestic violence, including an incident where Dottie was hospitalized for sutures after Kevin allegedly hit her with a broomstick just a month before their daughter was born. There were also reports of Kevin being very controlling, even disabling their car to prevent Dottie from leaving, claiming it was because she had previously crashed it under the influence. This context, while difficult, is crucial to understanding the dynamics leading up to Dottie's disappearance. So let's talk about the days leading up to January 21st, 2020. The day before January 20th was Dottie's daughter's 6th birthday. Dottie called her mother, Martha. She was distraught, crying because she couldn't make the 40-minute drive from Vivian to Shreveport to see her little girl. It was heartbreaking for her, but she promised her daughter she would absolutely be there for her birthday party. And the birthday party was that coming Saturday, January 26th. This detail is so important because it shows Dottie's deep love for her children and her commitment to them. For her to miss that party, something truly significant must have happened. Now, the day Dottie vanished on January 21st, according to her husband Kevin, he saw Dottie at their home that morning. He then left to go to town with his cousin to look at a job. But here's where it gets even more chilling. Around 3:45 p.m. that afternoon, Dottie had made a phone call to a friend who has remained anonymous. During this call, Dottie was crying, telling her friend that she and Kevin had been fighting and she desperately needed to get away. She even asked about taking a restaurant job. Her friend had been offered, a clear sign that she was looking for a way out, a fresh start. But then mid-conversation, something happened. Someone walked in the room. Dottie, who had just been crying, she instantly composed herself and simply said, "Hi." She continued the call briefly after, but that "hi," that single word, is believed to be the last thing anyone heard Dottie say, apart from the unidentified person who had walked in. Who was that person? What did Dottie's demeanor change to? Was she trying to hide something? Was she scared? Was she shocked? Was she surprised? We don't know, and it's a question that haunts this case. When Kevin returned home later on that day, Dottie was gone. But the scene he found was far from normal. He described it as a strange scene. The house was full of smoke. A pot of okra was burning on the stove, and a burnt spatula was found on top. In the bathroom, a TV remote was found partially melted on the wood stove, and another partially burnt remote was wrapped in a wet towel. Clothes were thrown throughout the house as if someone had left in an extreme hurry or perhaps in a state of panic or disarray. And Dottie's purse, her ID, her cell phone, and her makeup, all the essentials she would never leave home without, were still there. Her mother, Martha, emphasized that Dottie never went anywhere without her makeup. These details paint a picture of an abrupt, unplanned departure or something far, far more sinister. The Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office launched an investigation. Drone searches and K9 units scattered the 30-acre property around Dottie's home. They found a feather boa, some jewelry, and a knit hat near the Vivian airport, most of which were confirmed to belong to Dottie. But these items offered no real clues as to her whereabouts. Kevin later turned over 2 broken phones, one that was left behind and one he claimed to have found under the porch. Unfortunately, both were way too damaged to provide any useful information to the case. The family's relationship with Kevin became estranged, and he reportedly grew distrustful of the police. This, combined with his controlling behavior and the history of abuse, has led many, including Dottie's brother, to suspect foul play with Kevin as a person of interest. However, without a body or concrete evidence, no charges have ever been filed. And then there's another bizarre detail. In April 2020, months after Dottie had disappeared, an anonymous person left a newspaper clipping about her case at a Nexon convenience store in Vivian. The clipping had handwritten notes and maps drawn on it, suggesting someone had information. The police publicly appealed for this person to come forward, but they never did. Who was this person? What did they know? And why did they choose to leave such a cryptic message instead of directly contacting authorities? So, what are the theories surrounding Dottie's disappearance? The first, and perhaps the most relevant, is foul play, possibly at the hands of someone she knew personally. The domestic issues with Kevin, the strange scene at the house, the sudden silence after that high. It all points to a potential violent encounter. Could the scene have been staged to look like a drug-induced frenzy when something far more sinister occurred? Another theory is that Dottie, in a moment of crisis or relapse, wandered off and succumbed to the elements in the surrounding rural area. Her history with addiction is a tragic part of her story, and the chaotic scene at the house could indeed suggest a frenzied state. However, extensive searches have yielded nothing, and the idea of her just disappearing without a trace in the woods, especially after a short time, seems very unlikely to some. A third possibility involves third-party involvement, perhaps connected to her past drug use. Could she have gotten into trouble with other drug users or drug dealers? The unidentified person who walked in during her phone call remains a significant unknown. Could they have been involved in her disappearance? It's now been years since Dottie Yates-Mccathran vanished. Her parents continue their tireless search, offering a $30,000 reward and hiring a private investigator desperate for answers. They can't grieve. They can't move on because Dottie is still out there somewhere. This case is a stark reminder of the countless missing persons whose stories deserve to be told, whose families deserve closure. What do you all think happened to Dottie? Do you have any theories, any insights? Please share them respectfully in the comments below. Let's keep Dottie's story alive and hope that one day the truth of what happened on January 21st, 2020 finally comes to light. If you have any information, please contact the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office at 318-675-2170. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on our next true crime deep dive or story time. As always, stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.